This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We're here for a public hearing, only one specifically. We're going to do a quick round of introductions. You won't be able to see the councillors, I believe, but you will be able to hear them. We have Councillor Janine Boulanger with us tonight.
Good evening, everybody.
Councillor Ron Namchuk. Good evening. Councillor Shane Pelletier. Hi, everyone. Councillor Curtis Clayton. Good evening, everyone. We have our CEO, Mitch Duval. Evening. And in the background, we have our Assistant CEO, Dominic Lemoine. Evening. We have myself, Mayor Chris Ewan. We will begin as soon as I pop up the agenda. I will call the meeting, special meeting called to order. Do I have a mover? Councillor Namchuk moves it. Second. Councillor Shane Pelletier. We will be doing this a little bit differently now that council is here in person. We will be taking votes by raising hands instead of online casting. So I will be saying who moves it, who seconds it, as well as the CEO will be announcing the vote. Correct? Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Carried. 5-0. Thank you. 2, public hearing. 2.1 C19-2020-2403565 Ontario Inc. 568 Burnett Road to allow a trucking operation in the CG zone.
As this conditional use was held on September 16th, at such meeting, the mayor and council requested to table it and to defer the matter till tonight. So that, in its form, is the public advisement, public notice that would be required. Our planning person also sent out a reminder email to all those that spoke at the hearing, at the last hearing, and that were on record. So that was sent out yesterday as a reminder.
Okay, thank you, Mr. CEO. Just before we begin, I'd like to put a couple time rules on here. As chair, I'd like to have no longer than 10-minute delegations max. I will stop you at 10 minutes exactly, and we'll move on to the next speaker. Council's all right with that?
No.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing at 6:10 p.m. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor? Online. We'll start with online. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor online or through conference call? I see caller 02, your microphone is on.
That's you.
Okay. Duly noted. Okay, anyone wishing to speak in favor in person?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. This is Sunny Chahal here from Jiffy Express. Good evening, respected council, members of the community. I'd like to begin by saying that since today's outcome is going to impact me personally and immensely, I would request everyone to be a little patient and allow me a few minutes for expressing my concerns. With due regards for the concerns of councillors and residents opposing our move into these premises, I would like to urge the respected council for a holistic approach towards the overall development of the RM, which will allow businesses, residents, government institutes, everybody to work in harmony with each other. What defines the community, it's a social unit that consists of residents, schools, libraries, government bodies, and last but not least, businesses. And today we are discussing why a business as essential as ours should even be operating in the RM of Richa. I'd like to mention that our safety ratings are among the higher tier and definitely reflective of our overall characteristic as a business. And same goes for our duties towards our neighborhood, and we will perform them in a similar fashion. Pertinent to mention that we are not a curbside trucking company. We are in it for the long haul, as we say, and not for the short haul. We possess a clean safety record and no blemishes, and zero accidents. Our drivers have an average experience of 15 years each, and we take pride in our newer equipment, experienced drivers, seasoned office staff. Dave Kreider, he's in the meeting. He's a seasoned member of the trucking industry for the past 20 odd years, and we run a clean and upfront business. And Having said this, there's a few reasons why Jiffy Express should be allowed to carry out business in Richard. Number one, business moving in. There is going to be definitely more tax revenue for the RM. There will be a lot of jobs for the local residents. Since they're closer, their proximity to the offices nearby, and then definitely we will be preferring them over anybody else. Since more jobs are created, there's more tax revenue, so it's a snowball effect, and all those tax dollars are only going to be further used by the Sound Council towards the betterment of Richard and the roads. Just like the other day we were discussing installing better road signs and everything, right? So there is benefit for the residents overall in the long run as well. The conditions I would like to mention, which were enforced upon us, they are fully genuine, and we are fully capable and willing to accept those as they are. And they are also basic business practices for any business to go for the long run. I would like to mention some of the points that were brought up from the last meeting. Number one is noise from repairs. Our number one priority is to have our fleet in the top-notch working condition, period. So that comes before anything else. There's only room for 3 trucks inside the shop. The shop is only as big as which can accommodate only 3 trucks, and that's all we can have at any given time. So there is no question of traffic in and out or too much noise from the repairs. And also, as the repairs, the condition states that we cannot have outside repairs, so the repairs will be happening inside the building with the proper exhaust systems installed, proper equipment being used, and a newer equipment. Our noise levels are lower than what a used equipment or old equipment is. And we're also going to follow all the city bylaws as stated earlier, which will, limit us to create any particular decibels. I don't know if there's any scientific number being used here, how much the noise levels could be, but we know that the noise levels will be contained within the premises. The lighting issue, I wouldn't delve too much into it. This is someone else's business, but as far as Jiffy Express is concerned, lights, our plans for lights at the property as we stand is currently we do not see the need for lighting, as we see that the building itself has lights installed on all corners. However, if we see at any given time that it will reduce night danger for drivers walking in the yard, or it is still unsafe in certain areas, or it will help the video surveillance and to ensure the security of the assets and freight, we will request the RM and install the lights as per their guidelines. And again, we would only do what the city would want us to do. Now, truck traffic in the yard, we currently have only 12 units. On any given day, we don't find more than 2 or 3 trucks parked in the yard, and which is roughly about 25 to 30% of the fleet. Even if the yard was operating to its full capacity, you will not see more than 15 or 20 trucks at any given day on the property. The plans and procedures, we will continue to refine them. What we took intake from the other meeting that day is that we will have road signs inside as well. So in the yard facing the drivers at the exit, there will be a sign saying right turn only. So when the drivers go out, they will be, making their way towards the highway and not towards the road, towards the residents and the neighborhood. Also, with the help of the city, if they enforce better road signs and some fines to go along with as well, we don't refrain from paying. I mean, if there are signs, the drivers love their license most, it's their livelihood, and they will never go against it. And our drivers are the experienced. They all have about 15 years on an average experience. We don't just hire anyone and everyone. Pollution, it was brought up. We are already a GFL customer. As small as we are, we still went away with having a garbage bin installed at our facility. GFL is providing us that service, and Mr. Dave Galland, I believe the current owner is also using GFL. I'm not sure, but GFL has been made aware that we will be moving in and we will need their services over there as well. Mr. Gallant, the current owner, he's using oil disposal services and all that, and that's the same we are intending to continue with. And moreover, it is our duty to keep the environment clean. but also it helps us to ensure the value of our land and building is intact, which otherwise would devalue if there's any such pollution. Respected council is aware, the members of the community are aware that, if you have environmental issue, you cannot get even the phase 1 through for the environmental analysis, and therefore you cannot sell your property and the value is no longer, which it used to be. So that goes without saying. Pollution, we are against it, and even now, we don't stand behind it. And moreover, all these activities, repairing equipment, storing equipment, having people come in and out of the office, operating a full-time office, all these activities are still happening for the past number of years at Gallant Sales. Mr. Dave Gallant is aware of this. He told him about our plans for the property. He confirmed that, okay, yes, this is consistent what's already happening at the property. So respected council has received reference letters from our vendors, businesses that we know or who know us. They all echo that Jiffy Express is a respected business and we stand by our word. And I give you my word that we as a company believe in inclusiveness of our employees, customers, vendors, and also the community members, the residents we share the neighborhood with. We believe in growing with the community and for the community. And we assure that the council, we will try our level best to beautify our property because we want to be doing it for our purpose as well as for the interest of the community of Richard. Thank you for your time, and I would like the council to proceed with further comments now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaw. I appreciate that. Council, do you have any questions for Sunny or Mr. Shaw?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilor Boulanger.
Janine Boulanger here. Can you hear me okay? Sunny, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I just have a question. In your business plan, you say operational 24/7 and 365 days a year. So I think that is a bit of a concern for the residents. If you're going to be operating 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, I think that is like a big concern. If you're going to be hearing the truck beeping with the backup alarm going off at 3 o'clock in the morning type thing. So I was just wondering if you could explain the 24/7 point in your business plan, because then further down in your garage facility, you state the hours, Monday to Friday, 6 till 8, etc. So is the 24/7 a real 24/7, or what is your plan for that?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. So 24/7, when we say that, it's more so to deal with the issue of drivers being able to come in. If a driver is coming after 2 weeks of distributing essential goods and he's coming back to Winnipeg for spending the night or 36 hours, for to say, because that's how they're, they do a reset for 36 hours. That's all they get. And after that, they're back on the road. So after 2 weeks, if you see someone coming in, just to let you know, they're only coming in for 36 hours or maximum 2 days, 48 hours. They're there to spend the weekend with their kids, their families, and then they will be out on the road again, going to States or BC or, God knows where in North America. They can, depending on their uncertain time schedules, which we saw in the pandemic as well. The shippers, receivers, they have hours throughout the clock, round the clock. They have no hours at all. They cannot control, even if they get in earlier. They can't control when they will be offloaded. They cannot control when they will be loaded. They leave someplace at 4 p.m. in the evening from Saskatchewan. They will be there at about 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. at night. And at that time, they're willing, they're just looking for their parking, and then they're going to hop in their car and go home. And creating, as big as the facility it is, that there's tons of parking space over there, and I believe they will be in and out pretty quick. And at that time, the sound, I don't know if there's a measure for the city how they're measuring the sound levels from that property at night. The immediate, when the truck is backing up, that sound is from my experience, I've been in and around that truck. It cannot cross 20 to 30 to 40 meters because they're just backing up. And it's only for the people who are surrounding that truck for them to hear and be alarmed, if something bad could go off. And I think it's a good thing that the feature that is there, it's safety for the community. Anyone who's visiting, let's say if there's someone visiting from the community and he's living in the community, he's a driver for us, he's in the property and someone else is backing up, that those alarms, they will be on those trucks, and that's something required by the DOT and other requirements as well. And I think that's the least we can do for the hardworking truckers. And about the garage repairs, and sorry, Councilor Belanger, can you repeat your question for the garage repairs?
I think Councilor Belanger was just comparing your 24/7 feature in comparison with your garage repairs being only open till 8, right?
Yeah, that's all I.
Yes, she mentioned 6 to 8 p.m. Typically, the drivers like to make the use of their full hours. For those of you who know, it's only 13 hours in a day that they can drive a truck, 14 hour on duty. What drivers typically do, they like to leave early in the morning, 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. And imagine if we only have a mechanic there for 9 to 5. The driver is leaving at 6 a.m. He's got a delivery for, let's say, milk, for example. We are not in that business, but or there's a crane site, or there's a product going for a crane site, and the crane is there at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and he's got to show up there at 10 a.m. because the whole construction crew is waiting for him. And something as simple as there's an air leak on his line, he does not know how to change that. Some drivers are very well skilled, some are not. At that time, 6 a.m., getting someone in there, by the time he gets done, it will be 9 a.m. already. So if we have someone at 9 or 6 a.m. or 5:30 in the morning there, they can help the driver leave. That does not mean that there will be pounding on things outside or numerous noises going on at that time during the day. As I said earlier, things will be taken care of within the property, within the building with a closed door, right? And I don't believe the sound could go out, but so that's the reason for starting at 6 a.m. It says 8 p.m. is because the same thing applies if they come back in the yard and they see, oh, this is not working. I'm leaving 6 a.m. in the morning or 5 a.m. in the morning. Can you fix this before you go home? So the mechanic, there's going to be 2 shifts or a shift and a half. We'll see how we're going to do that. But we're at a level of 12 trucks, right? We don't need a mechanic right away or like a full-time mechanic right away. But when there are more units, in order to save that cost, we will have that full-time mechanic. Right now, we're thinking of having someone part-time because that's all we can afford. We're a small company. But when they come in, those are the working conditions will not change. Things will still remain inside the shop, and the noise levels will be kept whatever is authorized by the city. And that's just to facilitate the drivers to leave on time and get things done in time. And that's all we mean by those timings and the 24/7. 24/7 doesn't mean that there will be someone there 24/7 working in the office or whatever. It's just for the drivers' facility. They can come in and do their thing and go home and see their families.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions from council? Okay, thank you, Mr. Jal. I appreciate that. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? I see that we have some received in favor. Mr. CEO, do you want to go ahead and read them off, please?
Council all has their letters that have been received in favor on their tablets. I will not reread the one from Mr. Ken Novotny, as that one was read at the September 16th meeting. There is an email that was sent out by Dave Gallant to, I believe, the local businesses in the area. I will not read the email, but I will read his letter of support that is sent to council. As a business owner operating in the Armor Reach Industrial business for an area for 13 years. I'm writing to encourage you to approve 2403565 Ontario Inc.'s application to allow a trucking operation at 568 Burnett Road in Grant Point. It is important to note that the current occupant, Gallant Sales, operates in this location with over 200 pieces of farm equipment and a daily flow of trucks in and out of this property. Gallant Sales already services vehicles, tractors, farm equipment, and other pieces of machinery in their existing building. Currently, they have an engineered paint booth they use for painting said equipment. The facility is also equipped to operate trucks, tractors inside, and with proper engine exhaust ventilation equipment. Gallant Sales has been a model citizen in the Grant Point area and has made vast improvements to the subject property in order to help beautify this community. In our opinion, there will be no significant change to the current operation, and so this application should absolutely be approved. It would also be important to note that this type of business already exists in the area, and it would be prejudice to the current applicant if denied. To not approve this application would be, in our opinion, an anti-business and detrimental to the future development and the attraction of new business and tax dollars to our community. Another letter was received from Martin McGeary of Cushman Wakefield Stevenson. I am the owner of Unit 6, 33 Mandu Bay. The purpose of the letter is to inform you that I am in support of the conditional use zoning permit for Jiffy Express at 568 Burnett. In my opinion, there is no significant change to the current operation, and this application should be approved. I fully support this conditional use for the following reasons. With Keystone Western operating a truck terminal next to Gallant Sales, the precedent allowing truck operations has been set in the industrial area. The site is currently utilized by semi-trucks on a daily basis, and the yard is used to store and sell farm equipment. The applicant's use is compatible with the surrounding business. Email from Kevin McGarry from KAFM Limited. To whom it may concern, I am the owner of Unit 5, 33 Mandu Bay. 33 Mandu Bay is an industrial condo proximal to the above referenced site. 568 Burnett is currently occupied and owned by Gallant Sales that operates used farm equipment business. The property is zoned commercial general, and it is my understanding that the use of a truck terminal requires a conditional use permit. I fully support the conditional use application for the following reason. The site is located in an industrial area and surrounded by multiple and varied industrial uses, including trucking. It is compatible with all the surrounding uses. It was clearly the intention of the municipality to grow the industrial and commercial base, and trucking is an important and welcome service for many of these operations, and the use will not have any additional negative impacts on the Grant Point residents. An email from Matt Waugh, president of Simtax. With a strong precedent already set with 100+ truck tractor operation within this industrial area, I feel it would be highly prejudicial to deny the conditional use application of Jiffy Express. Jiffy Express is currently operating a 10-truck tractor operation, which is currently less than 10% of the neighboring trucking operations fleet size, and would not possibly create a further adverse effect for the one and only residents within sight of the property. I would also to include the Manitoba traffic counts information that was published on May 14th of 2020. This information is taken from the permanent truck traffic count station approximately 6.8 kilometers south of PTH 100 on Highway 59. The annual average daily truck tractor traffic count that is experienced in this particular area is 610 tractors every day on average, only one way. So some go both ways within the day. Jiffy Express would add to this traffic count by 1.6%, and I would consider and call on council that to be negligible. With the business absolutely devastated and destroyed over the world of this new normal, we need to take extra consideration and care for the few businesses that are able to grow and expand. We need to nurture these opportunities for reasons of expanded employment opportunities within the RM, and future consider the increase in tax base that can be added simply by allowing Jiffy Express to operate in an area with strong precedent. With the conditions outlined by the planner and with Jiffy Express's acceptance on the conditions, I know the residents of the RM will not experience any injurious effect to the operation of Jiffy Express. And the last letter is from Sterling Crane. Jiffy Express has rented space in our yard for the last 16 months. During this time, we have no issues with them as a tenant and support their application with you. To our knowledge, Jiffy Express has several trailers and approximately 5 trucks in their fleet. Typically, no more than 4 trailers and 3 trucks have been parked in our yard at any given time. There have been no issues with any additional traffic impacting our operations and our neighbors. During the time on site, no property damage occurred and garbage has been contained within the garbage bins. Additionally, no repairs to their equipment was performed on site. Overall, we have no regrets to leasing to Jiffy Express. From Scott Barresta.
I don't know if you just didn't see these or print them off, Ms. Shield. There's actually 3 more letters of support. Does council see them on theirs? I can read them off quickly. The first one's from Helen White, Commercial Account Executive for Arthur J. Gallagher Canada Limited, to whom it may concern. Our office has insured Jiffy Express since they started their operation in May 2019. We have had a very successful relationship to date, and we look forward to growing with them in the coming years. I've spent personal time with Sonny as well as professional time. He operates a stand-up business. He is always punctual, professional, and his attention to detail shows in the quality of work he provides. Jiffy Express has always treated our office with respect and is very appreciative of what we do. I have attended their office in person and can attest to the quality of work they do in and for our industry. Every email, letter, form is above the industry standard, and that translates to a very successful business. Sonny is always proactive and asks questions before he makes decisions. Monthly payments are paid in full and on time every month. The trucking industry is a tough industry to be in right now. Their professionalism shows and result. There is not a lot of driver turnover. This is almost unheard of in our industry. Overall, I would personally recommend Sonny and his team and support them fully as they embark on this endeavor. I trust this will meet with your approval, but should you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me. Helen. Next, we have letter support from, just loading it, Cam Graham. To whom it may concern, my name is Cameron Graham. I'm a freight broker and consultant and have been involved in transportation for 20+ years. I have been doing business with Jiffy Express since their inception in May of 2019. I've been to Jiffy's yard several times, dropping off checks, picking up paperwork, etc., and I've noticed each time that they keep a very clean, professional place of business. Jiffy Express quickly has become one of my go-to carriers of preference for any job that I need a reliable, ethical, and professional carrier that stands by their word, always. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me via email or the phone number above. And the last one is Joseph Myers, to whom it may concern. Jiffy Express has and will always maintain a clean and safe environment for all staff and customers. The yard is always clean and tidy and quiet. If you have any questions, please contact me.
I do have those, and they were stuck in my pile. Thank you very much.
No problem. Okay, is there anyone online wishing to speak against? Again, is there anyone online wishing to speak against? wishing to speak against? Just your name for the record, and then go ahead.
My name is David Healy. My wife Kelly and I have been at Grand Point residents for 27 years, residing at 2734 Helena Drive. We're both strongly opposed to the conditional use application file C19-2020 by owner Manowardeep Shahal of 2403565 Ontario Incorporated. There are numerous issues that we need to be taken into consideration, along with the negative impact this operation will have on our neighborhood. At last week's public hearing, the applicant owner, Mr. Shahal, expressed having concern for residents. If he was really concerned about the residents, he wouldn't be wanting to move his trucking company into a residential area, our neighborhood. Discovery Way would be better location for the future of our neighborhood. His concern is for his business, period. He is not interested in how it affects the people who reside in our community. The applicant professes there would be a minimal amount of noise emitted from his operations. We're not sure what his idea of minimal noise is and what he deems too much for a residential neighborhood and to have to endure. As a resident close to the Keystone Trucking, we can attest firsthand that a trucking company produces a significant amount of noise pollution. His operation will surely add a considerable amount to the volume of noise already produced. He does not reside near his existing location, nor does he reside near the location in question. So he really doesn't know and will not know how the noise will affect his neighbors. Just the same as none of the council lives near the commercial zone where all the businesses are. None of you know the amount of noise pollution we have to put up with because of the years of conditional uses being approved and the rezoning to commercial general use from agro-industrial. The beeping of the trucking as they back off on the lot, spray washing trucks, the sandblasting, the large booms of equipment being loaded and unloaded, and cars revving and screeching. These noises happen day and night, every day of the week. Never can we sit on our decks and enjoy peace and quiet of country living. The last thing our community needs is another trucking operation with big plans for expansion and varied operational plans to add to the already overabundance of disturbing noises. Mr. Gallant spoke at the last council meeting on September 16, 2020 in favor of the conditional use application and compared the applicant's existing trucking operation to his agricultural equipment business. He indicated that his operation produces as much noise as the applicant's operations and that the noise from his agricultural equipment business has not been an issue. You cannot compare Mr. Gallant's operation to the applicant's existing trucking operation and its future plans. They are and will be totally different. Noise from Gallant sales has not been an issue because his business is minimal. It is rare to see the trucks delivering or picking up equipment on his lot. We can only assume that his business is winding down, which is he is either selling, renting, or leasing his property, and that is why this conditional use permit he wants approved. Mr. Gallant is a businessman and has no concern for the residents. He only wants to sell and or lease his property. In addition, the applicant speaks only about the volume of noise his existing company is emitting. However, he has big plans, so it really doesn't matter the noise his company makes now. This operation currently has 15 trucks with plans for 20 by 2020, June 2021, which was passed already, and 35 by June of 2022. The land has the potential for parking 70 tractors and 70 trailer units. The applicant plans on renting outside storage space to third parties for commercial trailers, boats, and storage containers with 24/7 access. A commercial driving school, the selling of tractors, the operation of garage service for repairs of equipment, trucks, trailers, and body work and painting. In addition, hours of operation will be considerable, beginning at 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekdays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekends. This operation will, in short time, be producing a great deal of noise pollution all hours of the day and night. And just to add to that, I can't see them having their door closed during summer hours. I doubt that this place will be air conditioned, so when they're doing repairs on the trucks, no doubt that the overhead doors will be open. There is the lighting issue. When Keystone Trucking put up all their lighting, our south end of Halima was lit up like a stadium. It was the residents who had to complain and fight to have the lighting reduced. If we hadn't, the municipality would have let it go. Even still, the lighting is so intrusive to the residents, and the glow of the lights can be seen above the trees from the floodway bridge. Very recently, more lighting has been added to the business next to our property, with just the hydro property separating us. This lighting is intrusive and escapable as it's directed into our backyard and will be more prominent come winter when there are no leaves on our trees. The applicant's plans will surely require more lighting being installed, which he clearly stated at the last council meeting. So even more obtrusive lighting for the residents to put up with. The financial impact on the residential property owners needs to be addressed as well. Adding a second trucking company to the mix will surely bring our property values down even more. Over the years, the values have decreased for all of the residents in the surrounding area. Who wants to buy a house in the country that is next to a commercial industrial park operating 24/7 with 2 trucking companies, a driving school, rental outdoor storage space, automotive mechanical fabrication, sandblasting, auto body shops, and a portable potty business that stores potties in clear view? It's noisy and bright with no break-in hours of commotion. We certainly didn't want to live next to a commercial business area. The present building, which is now Gallant Sales, was the only commercial building in the area, zoned agro-industrial when we moved into Grand Point. We did not choose what we are stuck with now. When the time comes that my wife and I are too old to manage our acreage and want to sell, we would get substantially less than we would have had this area not been rezoned and businesses allowed to operate with no concern for the residents. Why is it that our investments are not as important as the investments of the business owners, and why must we always take a backseat when it comes to the municipality's efforts to increase tax dollars? Regarding the letters of recommendation submitted by the council by the applicant, are any of these from private residents in the area of his operation, or are they from other commercial businesses? His current location is nowhere near a residential area. Recommendations from the businesses in and around his current location have no influence on his application. We're talking about the effects of people's lives, homes, and neighborhoods. It's like apples and oranges. The commercial neighbors at his current location would not be able to speak to the effects of his operation on private residences. We doubt they would have opposed his operation, just as none of the commercial businesses in Grand Point have come forward to oppose his application. As well, these letters do not speak to the future expansion of his operations. Also, an issue regarding large trucks traveling on Burnett Road, which is a no truck route, was brought up the last public hearing by a resident opposed to his application. This issue was brought up because of the concerns about increased truck traffic on the road. The resident stated that the units she witnessed passing by her home were tractor trailers transporting cargo. They were not merely trucks that needed to drop off a load of building materials for a house being built in the area. Mr. Gallant argued that the signage on the road was unclear and that the no trucks route is not always on the driver's GPS system, so how would they know? I argued that the signage is clear. When you turn left onto Burnett from Halima Drive North, a no truck sign is very visible and clear for southbound traffic positioned between Halima Drive North and Carrier Road. As well, there is clear sign for both northbound traffic positioned right across the road from Gallant Sales driveway entrance area and before Halima Drive South. The signage is there, however, that doesn't seem to stop the truckers from disobeying the traffic signs. There are always going to be people who will break the rules, so the applicant, Mr. Shahal, cannot ensure 100% that this will not happen. He has no control over the third parties coming onto his property or his own employee operators or independent owner operators coming and going during the hours he is not there. Also, so what if no trucks notification does not show up on a GPS? The drivers need to be paying attention to the signs on the road. We all know that these GPS maps are not foolproof. There is already a problem with traffic on the road, and allowing another trucking operation with a multifaceted facility absolutely intensifies this ongoing issue. Let's also address the pedestrian and bike path that is being extended further to the four-way stop at Oak Grove Road. Efforts are being made by the municipality to make our neighborhood safe for pedestrians to walk, bike, run, leading to our beautiful Grand Point Park. But we're okay with having 2 trucking companies across from the street from it. The approval of this application would be counterproductive to this endeavor. There is the issue of conditional use approvals and stipulations that need to be met. First of all, the question arises, is the applicant purchasing or leasing, renting the property at 568 Burnett Road? If merely leasing or renting, he will not have a vested interest and therefore will be less likely to adhere to any conditions of use imposed. His business will not suffer any repercussions. It is very obvious to us, as well as our neighbors, that conditions and stipulations are very often not adhered to and do not get followed up on unless a resident complains, and even still, not much is done. This has happened time and time again regarding businesses in Grand Point Commercial Zone over the course of 27 years that we have lived there. The council can apply all the stipulations they want, but unless they are adhered to, they mean nothing. A part-time bylaws officer just doesn't have enough hours in the day to deal with the backlog, follow up on adherence, and to address everyday issues. The applicant cannot base his logic and explain how things are going to operate based on his existing operations regarding the potential noise pollution, future lighting requirements, and the effects of increased traffic on the roads to the pedestrians and cyclists. He has a substantial business plan which he inevitably affect all of the concerns indicated in this letter of opposition negatively and adversely. It is easy for council to shrug their shoulders and approve these applications, especially with the generated dollars it brings in for the municipality. However, you would easily deny applications such as this if one of you lived in our neighborhood. We have no doubt that all of you would have been opposed to this area being developed into commercial park in the first place, which it clearly has become, just as you would have opposed to another trucking company being added to the mix.
Mr. Hugh, you've been 10 minutes, I'll give you another 30 seconds just to finish up.
Yeah, conditional use after conditional use has been approved over the years as a means for tax dollars with total disregard for the residents. The residents of Grand Point are overdue for a vote in their favor. In closing, there are many very good and valid reasons why this application should be denied. The owner, Mr. Shahal, has other options, including investing in some other property over in Discovery Way, which is a more appropriate location and meant for this type of business. We, on the other hand, have no options. Thank you for your time. We know this letter is quite lengthy, however, it is warranted in this case.
Would you like a copy of that letter? Yes. If you could give that to Councillor Pelletier, he'll hand it down to Stephen. We'll get a copy made.
You can have that copy.
Thank you very much. Does council have any questions for Mr. Huey?
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Mr. Huey? Yeah, how long have you been, lived at the residence for?
In Grand Point?
Yeah, on that property?
Over 27 years.
27 years?
Yes.
And in that 27 years, how has that area south of you changed? I mean, was it agricultural?
It was zoned agricultural initially, and the only building was on there was Mr. Gallant's building initially, and it was called Midland Vegetation, and the rest was just farmland.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's everything, Councillor?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other councillors have questions?
I have a question about your one of your last comments. You said residents are overdue for a vote in their favor. Can you just elaborate on that? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, every time we deal with a situation where there's another conditional use permit coming in or another business, and we have to go to task to try and prove why it shouldn't be in that area, because of the reasons, noise or lighting or whatever. The residents they're heard, but really nothing's acted upon. Yeah, we hear you, but we're gonna let it go through anyways, and you guys deal with it. Unfortunately, the neighbors in our area that are adjacent to this park, we're dealing with the brunt of everything. It took 13 years for a business to finally get a fence up that was imposed 13 years ago. It took 13 years of me picking up garbage from that business on my property. I mean, that's unheard of. So, I mean, we keep fighting losing battles, and it's getting tiring. And this business can easily go to another area. There's no reason to change any conditional uses. We always seem to fight a losing battle. That's what I mean by that.
Okay. do you have any, and this might not be appropriate, but do you have any suggestions for that property? If, you know, Mrs. Glass selling, what do you think would be
Well,
acceptable? Like it is its own business, commercial general, so
yeah, I mean,
a business should be
I
going
mean,
on there.
yeah, a business can go in there, and we don't have a problem with a business going there, but why does it have to be, a business that's run 24/7? He's gonna be given access to people storing their stuff there, which they can come 24/7. I used to work in a trucking company for 5 years. I know how they operate. They come and go when they have to, because they don't have set hours in the day. They like to leave their trucks running in the winter. So we're gonna be hearing that. The backing up, of the beeping sensors is part of a safety, factor, which I understand that, but in the country, you know how far that sound travels? We can hear that clearly. We hear it clearly when a semi backs up to a trailer onto the fifth pin, onto the plate, and, the kingpin gets locked in, you hear big bang and clang, equipment being unloaded, offloaded, loaded, it's constant. I mean, and the lighting is just horrendous. I mean, for security issues, they have to have it, but, I mean, I don't even turn on my lights at night because I don't have to.
They do some money.
Yeah, so I mean, there's other businesses that can go in there, like Mr. Gallant's business, I don't have a problem with. I mean, it's low impact, he doesn't have, vehicles coming in there 24/7 and on a constant basis. I mean, we have no problem with that business, but this type of business, it's just too high impact and for noise pollution, and what he has the plans for is, it's huge.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I said. Anyone else from council? Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, Mr. Hugh, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak against in council? Come on up. Just your name for the record, please. Yes, absolutely.
My name is Jocelyn Fraser. My husband Joe and I are residents of Grand Point for 24 years now. We were 16 years on Abelard Road and 8 years on Howland Drive. We're the neighbors to Mr. Huey, and I'm opposed to this application as well, or my husband and I. We find that this business will increase the traffic noise pollution that we're already experiencing with the other businesses in the area, and also the bright lights affect our property as well. I have, just for an example, for my bedroom, I can't leave like a little space like this of the curtain up at night because the light flashes in our eyes. So it's very bright, and probably worse in the winter when there's no leaves on the trees. But and I find too that his future plans are nowhere near the size of Gallon sales. Like Mr. Yui said too, I find there's no comparison between these two types of businesses. I jotted a few things down when he was talking about the scenarios of his company, the ins and outs, and how the drivers would come at different times. And the thing about being prejudiced, it's not that we're against trucking companies, but I think that we have enough trucking in our area with all the noise that we have already, and just adding an extra one, it doesn't matter which one it is just too much. And also, I just find it's too close to residential, like, we're right on the border of that zone, so like we're saying, if you had a quieter business that would come in, we're not allergic to that. And also because we enjoy our area, like the Grand Point Homeowner Association has worked diligently for many years to make our space more appealing. We have that nice park, we have a rink, a picnic area, playground, baseball diamond, soccer fields, and then we have the path that was mentioned also that is being extended right to Oak Grove. So people will be walking, riding bicycles and all that even more so. And I'm just worried about all these trucks turning. With, the trucking company that's already there, when they come off Oak Grove, they just go right into their property, right from the corner. This company, they'll have to come down a ways and then turn into the house, which is worrisome for me. And also, my husband and I have already dealt with some issues with conditional, use of approvals and stipulations in the past. And, yeah, we were, where we had to, where am I? Where we've had to deal with issues for residents with building permits and not adhering to stipulations. And I was informed that the bylaw officer does not have a full-time position with the municipality. So it's unfortunate that there's not enough personnel to follow up on these conditions, and stipulations. But I also would want to take this opportunity to thank the councillor Janine Boulanger and the building inspector Louis who, you're very efficient to replying to our questions and our concerns, and we appreciate that very much. I just want to make sure, I think, I had added a few things. Yeah. And so, yeah, in conclusion, for the sake of the residents in Grand Point and having to put up with the existing businesses, the new application for this type of operation should be denied. And as well, I think there's a lot of other places that a trucking company can go set up.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Does council have any questions? Mrs. Fraser?
Okay.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak against?
Sure.
Ronald. Just your name for the record.
My name is Gordon Ronald. I live directly across from Mr. Plant. These are for council. Pass those by. It's been a good neighbor. We're good. I live directly across the street. So don't be alarmed. This is, I'll be the shortest one. This is basically a one-page. I just have a bunch of exhibits there that I just like to put on for backing for you, so you guys don't have to do so much homework. Just looking out for you guys. So dear council, this letter is to address the application for the conditional use file 2019-2020. We oppose the conditional use for this property. The current zoning is listed as CG, and the property is being used for exactly that by definition, a commercial space in an urban environment. And Exhibit A, all I did there was put down exactly where it is. I'm right across the street on the corner lot. And right now, the way it is, by definition, right out of the bylaws, is that it says there's a trailer recreation vehicle farm implements where repairs be made, done, completely close the building, but a trailer is displayed, sold, or rented premises, and he's doing exactly as it's meant to be. It is the duty of the council to make an informed judgment based particularly on section 1.6 of part 1, administration of the zoning bylaws by Exhibit B. And and you guys know it, but I'm just putting it out there. You guys have to vote on stuff that does not promote nuances or nuisances or whatever. Nothing in this bylaw or in a development permit, approval of a conditional use, variance order, or other approval issued under this bylaw shall be construed as authorization for carrying out any activity which is a nuisance due to noise, odor, emission, and so on. So I'm just reminding that this is all getting, and you'll see. A nuisance by definition is anything that interferes with the use or enjoyment of property and endangers the health and safety or is offensive to the senses. So when you go to Exhibit C, all I did there was just say, okay, what is exactly a nuance? And that, by definition, means anything that interferes with the use and enjoyment of a property, endangers personal health and safety, or is offensive to the senses. The senses, well, my colleagues already said, my neighbors, they already said the lighting and the noise at night. Now we're going into nights, weekends, holidays, 365 days a year. To me, that is absolutely a nuance. The nuance in this case is listed in their own property impact statement, listing increased hours of operation, increased traffic flow, increased parking, which all relate to increased pollution, noise, and risk to safety. This results in vehicle traffic all hours of the night and day, all across the street for my family. Working on a site with minimal 24/7 lighting, it will be fair to say that the lighting will definitely be increased for their own safety. See Exhibit D. So Exhibit D, all I did there was out of the bylaws, brought you up to speed on well, this one is their property utilization, and then the lighting bylaw. So a few years ago, Dave Blunt asked for a lighter conditional use for the same property and was rejected by council. My family believes that these bylaws were written to protect the neighbor's safety and privacy from the commercial businesses and create a small buffer to larger commercial development. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate that, Mr. Ross, thank you. Is there anyone from council who would like to ask any questions?
None.
No? Thank you very much. We have that, Mr. Suda. Okay, I will do one last call. In favor, opposed, or just general comments or questions? Go ahead, Mr. Suda.
We did receive other letters, again.
Oh, sorry, I apologize, go ahead.
That we need to go through.
So letters received against,
Okay. From Walter and Pat Demsick from 2727 Helena Drive. Our names are Walter and Pat. We live at 2727 Helena Drive. We have lived at this location for the past 30 years. We fully support and agree with the letter sent to council by Dave and Kelly Huey regarding this matter. We are both opposed to the conditional use application, file C-19-2020, submitted by the owner of Jiffy Express. We believe when this company is fully operational at 24/7, 365, it will have a huge impact on the entire residential community in the immediate vicinity. Another letter from Alfred Weeb and Candy Stark at 2716 Halima Drive. As longtime residents of Grand Point, 30+ years, we are very concerned about the added noise and traffic that another trucking company would bring to this once quiet country community. A 24/7 trucking operation will mean that trucks and trailers, third party or not, will be coming and going at all hours, 7 days a week. It is quite clear that if this is approved, the entire section of Oak Grove Road to Halima Drive South will eventually become one large trucking terminal, as Keystone is always looking to expand. We appreciate the RM wanting to increase their tax base. However, the entire selection should have never been approved as commercial to begin with. Poor planning as part of the past councils. Let's not let history repeat itself. If council approves this, then maybe they should also consider not spending additional tax dollars to extend the bike path, as it would not be a safe environment for anyone in front of the two large trucking operations. Has the applicant not considered Discovery Drive, which we don't believe would have any oppositions from any other residents? One other point, there are only two not a truck route signs southbound on Burnett and two northbound on Burnett Road. There are zero no truck route signs on Halima Drive northbound or southbound. And on more than one occasion, we have come across lost trucks on Halima parked on the side of the road looking at their maps. Do the residents of Grand Point, also taxpayers, not have a say in this? If not, why hold a meeting on this matter in the first place? We can only ask that council consider what is best for the entire community, residents included, not just the commercial development when making your decision. It would really be nice if the entire community could work together on this matter. Another letter from Gilles and Paulette Sarrazin. Hi, my name is Paulette, my husband is Gilles, and I've been residents at 2721 Halima for 19.5 years. We are both in complete opposition to the application by the owner. Last week, Mr. Cahal expressed concerns for the residents located here in Grand Point. If he truly were concerned, he would not have moved his business here and would be looking for a location that is not close to a residential area. Mr. Cahal also noted that there would be no changes in the lighting as his lot is lit quite well by Keystone's bright lights. However, there is something he cannot guarantee. Should he require more lighting for insurance purposes, he would have to have the bright lights installed, I'm sure. As we cannot sit in our living room without having the bright lights from Keystone Western beaming in as it is very bright, he would be much closer to our house, and this would for sure even be brighter and a huge nuisance to us. Mr. Cahill also noted that there would be little noise to no noise, but can he guarantee this, as well as I am not willing to be woken up at all hours of the night because of assemblies backing up beepers going off at all hours. This business being run 24/7 days a week, 365 a year, can be a huge issue for the residents close by. He states that he has letters from existing neighboring yards noting that there are no issues with the noise. Are these neighboring yards businesses or residential? If businesses, they would not be there at night to notice the noise in the evening. If residential, how close are they, and is his existing location as big as the one, or the one will be as busy as the one will be according to what he is wanting to do with? These are all questions that you should ask yourselves. Gallant sales should not be used as a comparison to the trucking company wanting to go for the simple reason. Gallant is not 24/7, 365 a year, and does not have many trucks coming in and out. When they do, it is normally during the day. Mr. Gallant is only looking at selling or leasing, renting. He is not from our community, and in the end, I'm sure our concerns are of no matter to him, as he is not affected personally. In addition, since the peace of quiet of our neighborhood has already been affected, this operation would even add more noise to the noise that currently exists. Based on his company plans for this location, the amount of trailers, storage space being rented out, driving school and garage would cause a lot of noise pollution at all hours of the day, every day of the week, as he plans to have it operational 7 days a week with no days off. This will be a huge deterrent for people to move in the area. Our main reason for moving in this area 19 years ago with our young family was to have peace and quiet of country living, which we would be losing even more of. We are also worried that this will have a huge impact on the values of our properties when it comes time to sell. Will anyone want to buy any of our houses being so close to a trucking operation? Not to mention anything else he plans for this lot. The approval of this application will most certainly affect us all residents in the area, and in a negative way. It seems that all the letters that are in favor of the application are from businesses, one being Gallant. The seller, of course, which would be in favor, as at the end of its sale, rental of his property, he would be concerned about. The commercial businesses that are in favor should not have effect on your decision, as they are not affected, as they are not businesses they are not there during business hours only, and should only be there 24 hours a day. Would they still be in favor of the decision? Increased traffic on Burnett is also a huge concern to us. This is something that Mr. Cahill cannot control, no matter how much he tries. The municipality has just recently put in a pedestrian bike path along Burnett Road that is currently extended to the four-way stop at Oak Grove. This seems to be contradict to what you're trying to do, making it safe for cyclists and pedestrians, but yet not possibly approve another trucking company to come in. I am hoping the council gives a lot of thought before making the decision and considers the impact this will have on the residents of our community. Just take a minute before making the decision. How would your decision be impacted if you lived in this beautiful neighborhood? Would you feel the same way as we do? That's it.
Thank you. Okay, now I will do one last call. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor or against, or any general comments? Come on up, sir. Just your name for the record.
Dave Gallant.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to find out that our residential neighbors think so little of Gallant sales. However, everybody's talking about traffic, lights. The distance from Oak Grove Road to the driveway at 568 Burnett Road is less than a quarter of a mile. Less than a quarter of a mile, okay? Last week, there was a lot of talk about lights. I didn't learn until the next day when Norm Curtis, the owner of Keystone Trucking, came into my office, and he was quite incensed about a lot of the comments. They were quite negative about Keystone Western. Keystone has been trying their darndest within the means of operating their trucking company. I was not aware about the lighting standards. I had asked when I made a presentation to this council, and I don't believe any of your councillors at that time, and Mitch was not the CAO. I don't know if you were here at that time.
No, it's not.
I asked at that time if the council had a lighting standard, okay? My concern at that time was, in my opinion, there were areas of the municipality that had lots of street lights, and yet on Burnett Road and the first section of Halima and down on Oak Grove Road, it was quite a bit different. There was no standard. My wife, anytime we had an alarm go off, she didn't want to come out. If I was out of town, she didn't want to come out because it was pitch black on Burnett Road. As a result of my presentation, additional street lights were installed at Oak Grove, at the corner of Oak Grove and Burnett, and at the corner of Halima and Burnett. Nothing had been upgraded after the highway was, after 59 was twinned. Street traffic changed in, anyway. But getting back to the lighting at Keystone, I didn't understand until last Thursday morning that it was a result of Keystone putting up the lights and opposition from residences that a policy was set. Apparently, the policy that went to the RM went to the city of Winnipeg to see what their policy was. Basically, I guess that policy was adopted for commercial zones, and so Norm, the owner of Keystone, he informed me that everything was in accordance with the policy. In our first, we've been there for 13 years. It'll be 13 years next week. In the first 5 years, we had no less than $50,000 worth of thefts and vandalism. The lighting was poor, including the street lighting, we have some lighting on the building, but it's not possible to light 4 acres, almost 4 acres. Since the lighting has been added, we haven't had a single incident. I submit that this lighting, this increased lighting, has not only made it safer on my property, but probably all the properties in the area that are reaping the benefits of the lighting. Thanks to the Keystone Lighting. When we moved there 13 years ago, there were no fences on our property. I understand that the previous owners had problems with, or the neighboring residences had problems with 568 Burnett Road. I was advised when we moved in to put a privacy fence on our front yard, bordering Halima, and subsequent to that, we fenced all the way around. It's not solid fencing. there's a solid fence on the north side of the, east side of our property. And then on the north perimeter, behind our shop, bordering on Manitoba Hydro, which would be directly behind some of the residents who are opposed here, we've installed privacy slats, 6 feet. That's 6 foot plus barbed wire, the hydro fence, and we've installed privacy slats there. There's another privacy fence on the west side of our property, and privacy slats on the south side of our compound as well. I mean, there's no plans to take that stuff down. The next owners would be reaping the benefit of that. It's impossible, without getting up on a step ladder, it's impossible for people on Helma Drive to see what's going on inside of that property without becoming elevated, getting on a ladder, or something to that effect. We've done our best over the years to beautify the property. We spent tens of thousands doing that. And I'm very hopeful that the community can reap the benefit of that, and that the new owners of the property, if the sale goes through, will reap the benefit of that as well. Thank you for your time.
Council, any questions for Mr. Gallant? No, thank you very much. I appreciate it, David. Okay, I'll do one more last call. Sunny, I see you're trying to make comment or not. Your microphone's on.
Yes, can everyone hear me? Thank you for everyone's comments. I heard all the letters, and I would like to go on the website for conditional use for Richard. And I would just, I'm saying this word by word what it says on the website. What is the conditional use? A conditional use application is a request to change the use of land or a building that is described in the zoning bylaw. Examples of changes. Now, these are the examples given by the city or the RM. Changing a residence to a restaurant, contractor's yard in an existing barn, photo studio in an attached garage, hairdresser in a residential basement. I'd repeat, it says a hairdresser in a residential basement. What we are trying to do and what we put the letter in for the use is for something that's already been happening in there. There has been comments of making noise. If there is opposition, there should be opposition based on valid scientific data, not just for the sake of making opposition. That's, I'm sorry if some residents don't like my comments, but it should be opposition based on relevant points and scientific data. And it also seems that we are being penalized for being too honest. And I seriously believe that. If we wanted, we could have said, oh, we are a 10 truck company, our plan for 5 years is to keep it that way. We came up with full disclosure, what this capacity could be, what this property has to offer, what we could do for the community, what we can do with the jobs. And by stating that, we know we were going to have some rebuttal. I was forewarned by a lot of people. I chose not to do it. I said, no, if we are doing this the right way. I don't want letters coming in every 3 months. I don't want to have a bad relation with the people living next to us. I want to be in a situation when I can be on first name basis with them. I may not be living in that nearby community, but I feel for that community, and I'm part of the community in Winnipeg area. When I first came in 2018, when I used to work for someone else, I never knew that Winnipeg will be where my destiny will be. I came there to set up a trucking terminal for another company that I used to work for. things that, that was my last assignment before I quit. I did all the research for them. I made a effort for myself. Everyone who knows me, they know that I stand for my word. I stick by what I say. I've helped people. I have hired them. I have, made changes to my plans, whatever I had to do in order to abide by where we are operating. For those of you who don't know, we are operating in Sterling Crane. Sterling Crane is a Berkshire Hathaway company which is owned by Mr. Warren Buffett, and they're no joke. They did extreme scrutinized investigation on who I am, what's my credit like, what are my references saying about me, and that's the fact that we're still there. It's been 16 months, and there was no tenant over there before us, and they don't allow any trucking operation to even come close to them. And I just walked in. I did not know anybody there. I made a presentation. They liked what I said. They asked for references, and here we are. That's the same approach I tried to, and I'm still trying to, come up with the city of Richa. And it seems that I'm shooting on my foot by saying that, okay, yes, we will be doing this and this. 70 trucks, everyone is saying 70 trucks. If someone from the residents have been in trucking, they know any given time, there is not more than 20 to 25% of the full capacity yard inside the yard. If we are saying this capacity has 70 trucks to be parked at the same time, that means that there will not be more than 20 trucks or 15 trucks. 20% of 70 is 14, but I will still say 20 trucks, not more than that, being on the property. When we say 24/7 operational, that does not mean that we have operations going on, loading, offloading, going on 24 hours. It's not easy to load something on a flatbed and then unstrap it, unhook it, unchain it, and do it all over again. That's the last resort. That's unheard of. And for doing that, you need other people in the yard with you, helping you. And that's not going to be available at 2 a.m. in the morning. You need 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or 8 to 6. It has to be reasonable. Even if someone shows up with something that has to be transloaded, you'll be like, okay, we'll do it in the morning. There's nobody to help you. Right? That is just not right. We know our business. We know what the noise levels are going to be. There's nothing that supports the noise levels going out. As Mr. Gallen said, someone has to go on a ladder and see what's going on in the property. Right? And it's just, if they're talking about the value of their homes, and they're making a point that it will be devalued, I choose to stand against it. If you are driving businesses out of the business community, this is not only going to affect this deal, or I wouldn't call this deal, but this move, but also in future, any businesses come in, they will be forewarned by the realtors. Oh, don't even think about it. Someone was refused going in there. Then what's going to happen to the surrounding area value? What's going to happen to the commercial values? Or if the commercial places don't come in, what's going to happen to the job? What's going to happen to the tax revenue? What's going to happen to your development? Evolution is something we all deal with, and only the communities who have evolved over the period of time, they have succeeded. And if you're not choosing to do that, it's your loss. And other than that, as I said, we're being penalized for that. There's been discussion of storing, people coming in, people going out. First and foremost, I would like to say that we are looking for tenants who just come there to park their boats for the 6-month period, or people who come to store their storage containers. These are containers for the big companies like Big Steel Box or other companies. This is not a storage space for like A and B or something that people can store their motorbikes or whatever, keep on coming all the time. Those are the priority for us to actually go with the type of tenants. Secondly, if the trucking company comes in, if a trucking tenant comes in, they will follow a similar suit. The drivers don't come home for 7 days or 14 days. So the plan does not change. The traffic does not change. 70 trucks, if there's an allocation for 70 spots for our truck and someone else's truck, the volume on the physical lot still remains 15 to 20. The noise that we are talking about. Yes, the doors have to be open. The driver, when the mechanics are working in summers, if the door is open, I would still like to challenge that fact. That's during the summers. What are people doing at that time? They're in their offices, unless I really hope we're out of this COVID and people actually go to work. They will be in their offices, kids will be in schools, in summer vacations, people are traveling. There's activity happening everywhere. Kids are playing in the backyard. The noise in a yard which is 50 meters away is the last thing on your mind when summer you're trying to enjoy your time in the backyard. Okay. And the door is open. If the opposition has to be there, it has to be just. It has to be based on concrete points and not just for the sake of argument. If there's not going to be, if a business person is smart enough to understand that this community does not support businesses, and if it won't affect you today, but in the 10 years period, it will affect your RM. It will affect everyone involved in there. And believe me or not, the existing businesses, they will take note of this as well. And plus the doors, if someone has a problem with the doors, we can put big fans in it and then try not to keep them open in summertime if someone has such an issue with that. We'll do everything we can. We came in with full disclosure to work with the community, and we stand behind our word. All we need, it seems like everyone wants to use the essential service. They all want to have the construction equipment delivered to their place. Everyone wants the essential service, but no one wants to support a single one of them. And that's the funny part to me, that what I don't understand. And having said that, which there's already a trucking operation 10 times bigger than us. Even when we will be at 70, I bless them, God bless them, they may be even bigger than us. Because that's how trucking works. And you cannot park more than what a yard can contain. The yard can contain only so much. With cities' help with the signs, with us putting signs on our property saying that right turn only for the drivers, you got to be blind for that not to see that sign. And all we can do is, the resident is right. We can do is try, and we can try and try again. We can have it part of our orientation. We can have it part of our policies. We can have it part of training. And in the end, it's in the hand of drivers. And what drivers are there? Those are the drivers which have 15 years of experience. And you made the point of driving school. Why are we having that driving school? We want to make sure there's similar drivers being trained by our drivers who are qualified and spent years of time on the roads. They can try and train them the similar way so that they cannot enter your streets. Or would you want us to have someone from the street and put them in the truck and then they're running into your streets? The driving school is only for our business.
I'm just gonna let you know your 10 minutes is up. I'll give you 30 seconds to wrap up.
Thank you. Those are my comments.
Thank you. I just want to make a couple comments to you, Mr. Chow. First and foremost, I do appreciate the full disclosure on everything in your business plan. I don't think council is penalizing you in any way yet. And I don't think my people, the residents of Richard, have penalized you. I just want to make the comment and defend my people and the residents of Richard that they have every right to make any case they want during a public hearing, as long as it pertains to the public hearing, which I believe it has. So I just want to defend the people of Richard that they are allowed to do that. So thank you very much, everyone on both sides. Does anyone in council have any questions for Mr. Chow?
A quick question, if I may. Have you considered other locations, like on Discovery Drive, when you were looking for locations in the Grand Point area? Was that an option?
Did you hear that?
Yes, I have. Yes, I can hear. I have discovered multiple locations with my realtor, with his full support. And believe me, this is all I can afford. We are at the level of 12 trucks. This is all we can afford at this time. This is some place that suits our business. There's a small space for just enough trucks to be repaired. The fence is already there. The graveling, the fence, the putting up a building, putting up an office. If we were to get a bare piece of land and then build something like that, you can't even get a loan for that amount. You would be spending $500,000 to $600,000 just for the $400,000 just for the grading, plus putting up the fence and the building and whatnot. So $700,000 to $800,000 just for putting up all that. This is what we can afford, and that's what we are going in for this.
Thank you. That's good.
Mr. Mayor, what is this
capacity right now? How many trucks does he have in his fleet presently?
Yeah, I think he's answered that before. Mr. Chell, if you just wouldn't mind
I want him to
telling-
just confirm how much
Can you
he
just
has.
confirm how many trucks you have currently in your operation?
We have 13 trucks in our operation at this point. 8 are company owned and 5 are owner operators.
And how many of these trucks?
Also, I would like to mention that there's one owner operator who's operating from Toronto area. We also have a parking facility in Toronto area. So there will not be, when I say 70 trucks, that does not mean that all those trucks, whatever we are allowed to add by the insurance, they will all be in Winnipeg. There will be some operating on the Ontario side of things as well, operating from New Brunswick all the way to Toronto. That's why we have a parking facility in Mississauga, in Ontario.
Okay, this might be a hard question to answer. How many of these trucks come in between hours 11 a.m. and 6 o'clock in the morning? Or that's unjustified question to ask? Because everybody's concerned about noise.
If you're going to put a number on that, that really depends on what the hours are for the shippers, receivers, and everyone during this pandemic, and which has been all over around the clock. And 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. you mentioned?
11 p.m. to 6 a.m., yes. This is a residence.
Maybe not today. It's hard to put a number to that, but most of the time, as I said, drivers like to drive during the day. They would be home by evening. That's what my comment is on that.
If I may say something, please, I'm the operations manager here in Winnipeg. It's David Kreiderman. From my experience being daily operations here in Winnipeg, the volume of trucks that would come in between the 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. would be very minimal, maybe one on occasion. Most of the time, the drivers are in by 8, 9 o'clock at night, and then they're gone home. Occasionally, we have somebody comes in, late at night because of delays or whatever, but that's a rare occasion.
Yeah, with the DOT, you have to have everything in writing because you just can't write in your own time because everything is regulated with Department of Transportation. So you must have some good records though. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that's everything. Thank you, guys. Anything else from council before they mute? No? Okay, one last call.
Just one comment.
Yeah.
Gordon Arnold. Just want to say that the zoning bylaws are there to benefit the people who live and work in those zones. By changing this bylaw, it only benefits the new occupant in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll end the public hearing. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, sorry, I figured because we were talking about residential real estate, I basically broke down the numbers, and the residents in the area that they're talking about, in that mapped area, the values have significantly gone up in all the years that those companies have been there. Now, and if you want to, and I'll give you some numbers. From 2010, the average sale in that location was 330,000. Today, 2020, it's 507 for residential. And even if I go back 2 years, if Keystone's operation was louder and noisier or whatever it was, it used to be 435. So there's been almost a $90,000 increase in value in that location, in that mapped location.
I appreciate that comment. Those are numbers I was curious about. It was Frank Zappia, Mr. CEO, just so you know. Any questions for Mr. Zappia, council? No? Okay, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:37 p.m. Do I have a mover? Councilor Manchuk, second. Councilor Clayton.
Does council want me to read the conditions as they are the same as of the September 16th?
Yes.
For the record?
Yes.
Okay. Therefore, be resolved that conditional use application C-19-2020 is approved with the following conditions: that this use shall not be noxious, offensive, or hazardous by reason of emissions or production of odor, dust, refuge matter, waste, vapor, gas, smoke, vibration, or noise that is that this use shall not create a nuisance beyond the property sightline. 2, there will be no outside storage of hazardous liquids, materials, or substance. 3, applicant shall comply with the municipal noise bylaw 14-2003. Applicant shall erect a solid fence according to zoning bylaw 9-2019, section 3.26, enclosing all of the outdoor storage areas. 5, any maintenance work on vehicles shall be performed within the buildings. 6, the applicant must comply with the municipal zoning bylaw parking requirements. 7, if yard lighting is to be used, the applicant shall ensure that the lighting levels do not cause any destruction or a nuisance to the neighboring area or affected roadways. 8, the storage of derelict vehicles is not permitted. 9, applicant shall ensure that all proposed construction conforms to the Manitoba building codes, fire codes, health standards, and any other municipal, provincial, and or federal permits and approvals as may be required. The applicant may wish to seek the help of an engineer, architect, or other professionals who is certified in this field to ensure compliance. 10, applicant complies with the littering bylaw 5-2011. 11, any signage shall comply with the municipal zoning bylaw 9, section 11. 12, applicant maintains the storage area for proper drainage so as to not affect adjacent properties. 13, items stored outside shall be kept in a tidy manner so not to create an unsightly appearance. 14, the applicant shall obtain all required permits and approvals from Manitoba Highway, MTS, and MIT, Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation. And 15, that the applicant shall provide a signed confirmation letter accepting the terms of this order. There may be site audits conducted to ensure compliance, and any non-compliance issues may be caused to revoke the conditional use at any time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Studio. I'm sure your throat is exhausted from all the writing. IRL speaking you have to do today. I'll open up for debate from council. First, I just want to ask Councilor Boulanger, we all received the reference letters that you were wanting to see. Are you satisfied with that?
I am satisfied, and I thank the council, my fellow councilmen, for entertaining me on that. Just, it would have been nice to have the reference letters at last week's meeting. But I believe this has given them the opportunity for both parties to get better prepared and bring their points forward so that all council can hear all the concerns. So I appreciate the reference letters and the effort that it took to get those letters. I appreciate Mr. Gallant for going around to the business and getting those, and I also appreciate the local residents for putting such effort into all their concerns and very valid concerns. There was a comment made about, council doesn't live next to these areas, so it's hard for you to relate. I do not live next to that area, so I as well cannot relate 100%. But I do know, and that's why I was asking about the 24/7 operation. I do know those backup alarms can, as Mr. Healy pointed out, can be heard from well across the way. It doesn't stop at 200 or 300 feet from the property. There's construction going on in Grand Point right now. I believe it was last Wednesday morning. I was woken by like 5:30, 6 o'clock from truck backing up. I don't know what company or what production was going on. I can't even see it in my area. So sound does travel quite well in the country. And the lighting, I walked by there at night many times, and it is bright. And I understand the whole safety issue, and I appreciate that. I just got broken into on Saturday, so lighting would have helped. But on the other hand, it's 24/7. You've got light shining. Well, not 24/7, but you know what I mean. It's throughout the whole night. That's pretty much it. I would just like to see maybe the hours not, if the business could be limited, that would help. But there's just a lot of other concerns that the residents have. They've lived in that area. They know what it's like. You can take Mr. Chahel's word for it that he's not going to let that happen, but he can't control every actual person that is gonna be using the facility. You might be able to try, but in the meantime, the residents have to put up with the unfortunate repercussions of those business owners. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Is there anyone else in council that has any comments to add?
If we go forward with it, can we get a conditional use for right-hand turns out of the lot? Would that be handled under?
You can put it as part of the condition. Again, it's the matter enforcing it. If you're not there to witness a left-hand turn, what do you do? So,
Arnold Brothers has been on Lac-Modier for 100 years and nobody turns left there because they get fired.
I think it's an opportunity to add it, and, council and the admin can strategize on how we'll implement it for sure.
so is that a
Council's that
item to be added to the
Would you like to see
conditional
that added if it was
use
passed?
listing, if approved?
right-hand turns only, correct?
I just wanna make the comment, we've got how many conditions, 15, it's another 16, it's a matter, and we all know it's a matter of enforcing. It's very hard to enforce these conditions. We are trying, I know Louis is really working hard and doing wonders, and he's catching up, and we're all trying to get on top of this, but in the end, it's the residents that see the sufferings of broken conditions.
I still would like to see it, is the consensus is the majority that we see it in there.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, I guess my debate is this is a commercial general zone, I don't see much of a change, yes, there might be a little bit more activity, I think it is our due diligence as the municipality to enforce the bylaws, which probably were not done before our time as council, but I will say that it is a lot more effective now with this council in place. They are receiving emails, they are taking action, and they are ensuring that bylaws following up with those concerns, and I think it's just, more and more enforcement, has to be done. So, it's a matter of enforcement, I don't think it's a matter of what should or should not be there. I advise council to pass this, because this is what this zone is for. That is my only debate, as I continue to say, this is a commercial general zone. Any other debate?
I'll be quick, I feel for the residents, and I sense there's a bit of a fear of the unknown. I think as the business currently exists with the size of its fleet, I don't know if it would really impact that area all that much. But, the applicant has been very forward with us. It sounds like they do have plans for expansion, for growth, as any business would. And I guess I'm just curious, in a conditional use, would we ever limit the size of the operation by the amount of trucks? I mean, if you look at the business to the south, and you just look at the satellite view there, and you can tell it's fairly, full with semis and trailers. But with a conditional use like this, I mean, is that even a municipality's business to restrict something like that for a business?
I believe you can, just because we do limit other residential growth, depending on condo units, et cetera. Again, it's one of those matters of how do you take inventory and stock. But if council does put that into the conditions, then it does give food for thought for the applicant as to whether they wish to proceed or not with the situation as well.
I think the lot size would dictate how big they can grow.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Keystone, they're full, but they didn't start with all those lots. They expanded by having to buy other lots. And there wouldn't be an opportunity for this to expand anywhere there without moving if it got too big.
So you'd be at your capacity.
What's the consensus of council? Do we want to limit? Is Is there a possibility to make it, you know, they can grow to X amount for 5 years and then they can come back to council? Is that something we can do, like consider comparing it to a lease agreement of 5 and 5 or a 6 and 4, whatever they're called? Is that an opportunity?
I'm not sure how we would do that.
Yeah.
Like, as counselors here, I'm not in the trucking industry, what are we gonna guess at?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I was just bringing it up for debate. I mean, I'm not sure if it's even our place to.
I think just leave it the way it is.
What's the applicant's ask?
Well, I was gonna say his 3-year plan is 35 by June 2022.
2 years.
Well, do we go with his recommendations and say no more than 35 for the next 3 years, and then he needs to come back to council? It's up to council.
I would leave it the way it is, to be honest with you.
Jeremy.
Okay, thank you for the question. That's it from council? Any other comments? Okay, you don't need to read it out again, Mr. Steele. I think we got the right-hand turn thing. No other changes. Okay, I will, call for the question now. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I think that was 4-1. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 3 adjournments. Do I have a mover? Councilor Manchuk, second by Councilor Belanger. Any comments, questions? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? None. Carried. I close the meeting at 7:49 PM.